Hi there. Welcome back to the Natural ADHD Solutions Summit. We're very excited to have a special guest, Laura, the ADHD Mama, with us today. And I'm excited to jump in. I've been following her somewhat, but I know she has a ton of material content out there on Facebook. And so I've only, scratched the surface of some of it. So I'm excited to hear personally, as well as share her with the rest of you. So, Laura, I'd love to have you just start by telling us a little bit about your backstory and how you got to be where you are today and what you're doing these days.
Okay. Hi, I'm Laura, the ADHD Mama. How I came to be on social media, I didn't have anyone else to connect with because I'm a mom with ADHD and I was diagnosed young. And we noticed that my youngest daughter looks like she might have ADHD. Now she's 4, turning 5, so she's not diagnosable age yet. So she's potential ADHD, and I was frustrated with one of her swimming lessons. The teacher was paying more attention to my oldest daughter and not my youngest. And her body language completely changed. And I remember people reacting to me that way. So I made a bit of an angry video and it went viral. And this is kind of how the ADHD Mama started, was from me realizing that there was not enough resources there for moms to connect with other mothers. I mean, I was 29 when I met my first other ADHD woman ever. I was diagnosed at 9. That's a long time period not to know anyone else. So now there's 7,000 people following the ADHD Mama. Not just moms, but there's a lot of people that can now connect and understand and grow and learn from ADHD. So that's kind of how it all came to be.
Yeah, very organic, obviously. I mean, and that's cool, though, because obviously it was a need. You felt it in your life, and then obviously all these other people have gravitated towards you and what you do because you're filling that desire and that need. And that's cool because there are a lot of books out there, a lot of educational things, a lot of experts, and that's like somebody teaching you. It's not being able to connect with somebody who's going through it at the same
who's
time
experienced.
Right.
Experienced the struggles as a child, knew that I was experiencing these troubles as a child, and then seeing it all over again with my daughter. It's kind of a fun adventure watching this. It's like a movie of myself.
Yeah.
Only she talks back to me. Oh, children.
Yes. A well-rounded movie of yourself. Yeah, but I mean, and that's also part of why I wanted to bring you on to our summit too, because I think that you offer a really cool perspective. Having that history that you just mentioned, having been diagnosed at age 9, now being a mother, having a daughter who, is displaying that as a likelihood. And so, because when I've watched some of your videos and some of your material on Facebook, you're sharing about your own story as a person, and then also your story as a parent of a child with ADHD and a parent who has ADHD with a child with, like all three of those things. And it's cool. And in our pre-chat, we were talking about one that I had just recently watched where you were sharing about your daughter having colored on on the deck with crayon, freshly painted area. But I'd love
painted it too.
Yeah, and I'd love for you to share that because what I really appreciated was what you're talking about, executive function, and just sort of really being realistic with what our expectations are with our kids.
So my daughter, she's 4, turning 5, and she took crayons and colored on our white deck. We had just painted some flaps on the deck. And we had already talked about you don't color on the walls, you don't color on the furniture. Now, because she has ADHD, potentially has ADHD, she's 30% younger with her executive functions. So that's working memory, foresight, things like that. So her ability to understand that if you can't color on these walls, you should not be coloring on the deck. But she saw the deck and probably thought, oh, it's white, that's ugly. We should spice this up. So she colored on it, and my husband got very frustrated. I wasn't home at the time. And so I came from a different approach because she didn't do it on purpose. This was a mistake. And she felt bad when she discovered, I'm not supposed to do this. She was upset. And so just it's a reinforcement of the fact that she can't actually make those connections that neurotypicals can make or adults can make, and that I need to change my expectations and not get too upset when things like that happen. Have compassion and make sure she is responsible for her actions. ADHD is never an excuse. It's an explanation. So she didn't get off the hook for coloring on the deck, but instead of getting angry, we talked about it. She apologized. She helped me clean it, and she was still had to be responsible.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool distinction too, because, in even when I was just, setting that up, suggesting you tell that story, I was saying, our expectations, but I could see how someone might take that a different direction as a parent and think, oh, well, they don't know that they're executive function, so
they should know better.
They're just going to do it. Well, they should know better. Or on the converse side, like, okay, now I get that. So then, well, they just do that anyway, but still, I think that's a good distinction that she still has to be held responsible and learn from it. So that's cool.
Accountability is big in our household.
Right. It's a great balance. And so, yeah, I mean, if you could just share maybe some more pieces about, I guess, all of your interesting perspective as a parent with ADHD and a child with ADHD. I know we talked a little bit, and you said you had written some notes about some specific, actionable things you wanted to share. I'd love to just kind of jump in where you feel led to.
So when I was asked to do this, thank you. I didn't know which direction I should go, and so my notes are very ADHD scattered. Everything from time management to how you talk to your child to Amazon's Alexa. But the part I think would be the most beneficial to the viewers here is how to help children that are having a meltdown. Now, meltdowns are different from tantrums. A tantrum is when your child is, let's say, told the word no, and they don't like that. And they're not able to control their emotions, so they get angry. Well, a meltdown is more of when they're overwhelmed by too much stimulation. It could be anything that caused it, but they're not in control and they can't stop it, and it's not their fault. There's a difference. So these type of meltdowns, they happen fairly frequently in our household due to many different reasons. So I let her have the meltdown. That's the first step. Step one, let them have the meltdown. Because it's not their fault. They're learning how to deal with their emotions. My goodness, most adults are still learning how to deal with their emotions. Two, I stop the ramp up. So with ADHD, especially when you're younger, you don't have the ability to control and stop that emotion. There's no stop button. It's like a Ferrari with bicycle brakes. Those bicycle brakes are definitely not going to work very well when it comes to an emotional meltdown. So I try to disrupt it, usually by making her laugh or talk to me, maybe even just blow my hand away. By blowing the hand away, she thinks it's funny because I make it dramatic, but also it requires her to breathe, which brings us to step 3, which is breathing. Breathing is one of the most interesting things that humans do. It's completely connected to your emotions. Every single emotion has a different breathing pattern. Calm breathing, in and out slowly. Angry breathing. See, every emotion is attached. So if you use a nice calming breath, get them to try to breathe, it will help bring them down from that emotional overwhelmedness to the point where you can actually talk to them. Because if you try to make them accountable for their actions, for their angry actions, if they did get angry and end up breaking or hurting someone, while they're still upset, you're not going to be able to get through to them. You need to have them be calm, and then step 4, accountability. They are still responsible for their actions even when they were upset. A lot of things get broken in our house, and she's still responsible for them, and she's 5. We're working on it. It's a progress, and it's decreased over this year. I have to say, yay, success. But it's it's stopping yourself as a parent from getting upset yourself and looking at it from their point of view. They're not doing this to you. Something is happening to them. And I think that's one of the I've seen that on a quote for different ADHD pages. That is one of the most important things to understand. They're not doing this to you. They're not trying to be bad to you. But they're kind of effectively doing that sometimes. You work with it.
Yeah, they're often very skilled at that. Our own kids, right? Yeah. Well, okay. So you said, can you just review those steps again, real quick? Step one was let them do it. Yeah.
I let them have the meltdown.
That one I wanted to ask you about.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit more. What do you mean, or what would not doing that look like versus doing that?
Oh, when you try, stop that. No, just don't cry. Don't be upset. When you're trying to nip it in the bud too early and not validating their emotions, because their emotions are real to them. This will actually take less time to accomplish those 4 steps than if you do this stop crying. No, stop doing that. No, stop being upset. That doesn't... Have you ever been upset and someone told you to calm down?
Yes.
Did it ever work?
Not if that's all they said, no. Especially if they are yelling it at you, right? Yeah. Well, okay. So, no, sorry, I interrupted you. Why don't you go through the 4 just real quick? Yeah.
So 1, I let them have the meltdown. I let them have the meltdown. 2, I stop the ramp up when I didn't think I actually explained the ramp up. They're not done with the emotion, so they'll like make themselves get upset again and again and again. So you have to disrupt it. 3, that's 4. 3, breathing. Just deep breaths, calming them down. And then 4, accountability. All
right. And so, of course, I guess we were sort of talking about it before too, but what comes to my mind is what we'll see often or experience as parents is when this is happening with our kid, it kind of like triggers us into like almost our own meltdown. And then, of course, it's those 4 steps. It's hard to keep them from going out the window if we're in that place too as an adult or a parent.
What if you're out in public, or you're stressed out, or you're already upset, or dinner's boiling over and this kid's having a meltdown?
Right. That's my question to you.
Well, when we were talking earlier, I made a little note that I might make a new video about how to help mums when they're having a meltdown, because this is the reality, especially when you're a parent with ADHD also, or any type of neurodivergency where this makes it more difficult to deal with others like you. You get triggered, they get triggered, you bounce off each other, and remember, you're the parent. And that's so hard to say to yourself when you just want to have that meltdown. But it's really important to remember that they're learning from you, and you need to try your best to keep calm. And I think that the phrase when the thing is happening to them, they're not doing it to you, that personally has helped me so much, because it goes from a blaming point of view, like this child's doing this to me, they're bad, they're terrible, to, oh, they're going through something. I want to support them.
Yeah.
It's a mind shift.
Right. And I can see how that, could be even especially challenging if you're a parent with ADHD, especially with like some hypersensitivities, right? Because of loud noise or, intensity, then it's like that, because that's what they're going to do naturally, as your kids, right? They come ready to push all our buttons.
Or too much touching, if you are triggered by that, but they need to be touching you all the time, especially colicky babies. Oh yes, it's hard. Remember, each part of parenthood and each part of the child's development is a stage, and that stage will end. Have faith. Someone gave me that advice early on in parenthood, and it really helped. It helped me remember that, this colic stage, this hissy fit stage is not going to last forever. So let's deal the best we can with what we get. That's actually what I teach in first aid. Do the best you can with what you get.
Yeah. Well, that's the most realistic thing you can do, I guess. So, in some of our, also our pre-chat, we talked, or you mentioned about, which I'd love to, it's sort of a shift in topic, but you talked a bit about time management, as being somebody with, a parent with ADHD, because I know, with children with ADHD, that's a challenge it's a challenge for all kids, but even more so often with our ADHD kiddos to, strategize their time, get ready in the morning or get out the door. Those type of things are a constant challenge, And so, you're laughing. I assume that seems familiar to you, but I'd love if you could share with us a little bit about how you guys deal with that, or what your best strategy in terms of that is. Oh, good. There you go. What'd you do today?
So time management, this is a constant struggle for people with ADHD. It's one of my biggest challenges with my ADHD. I'm on time for everything, but if I'm not there, if I don't show up, that means I did not remember it. And this happened yesterday, actually. It was school picture day. And with my neurotypical, who is very stressed about having everything organized, I forgot till 5 minutes beforehand. And then my youngest, who has ADHD, she doesn't have socks on. She didn't have her teeth brushed. She's a disaster going on. But I couldn't help her. I had to help the oldest get a new outfit. It wasn't pretty. So time management, you really need to be accountable to yourself, because guess what? You're the adult, and you need to find a system that works for you. I have a new phone as of a couple days ago, and I'm really liking it. And by the way, I remembered our appointment because it's in my phone. Yay. And it sent me several reminders. Thank goodness. I also bought a big calendar to go in my fridge, which will help because my other calendar, the squares were too small. I'm taking steps for myself to make sure that I'm accountable. So if something wasn't working, I need to change it. And so right now, this new phone's working. I also use Alexa. It's my robot best friend. I've made a video about Alexa. Now, not everyone likes the fact it's listening to you all the time. I don't have a working memory. I need external reminders. And when you have ADHD, if you can't rely on your memory, you don't. And recognize that that's okay, that there are tools to use, because outside reminders are fantastic and really key, important tools for people like us.
Yeah,
so I use Alexa for everything. I haven't burnt a batch of cookies yet since having Alexa.
Well,
Finally.
There you go. It's your personal assistant, right? That's probably how they market it too. But it's really true, yeah. And have you found anything that you've tried that with your younger daughter that's helped? I mean, I know she's pretty young, even with or without ADHD, to be really good at time management. But have you found any kind of strategies or tips or anything that have helped you at least help her get moving better? For like you said, this morning worked well. That type of thing.
I'm going to give you two strategies, and they're completely opposite of each other. Try one and then try the other. One option is to give them two options. So let's say they need to get dressed, and it's a struggle. So you pull out the pants, you pull out the socks, the underwear, whatever else you need, and give them a choice of two shirts. Pick one or the other. Now, with some children with ADHD, they need that external person to make the decisions to help them get the shirt, to pick the one. Now, if the child has slow processing speed, which is not a guarantee with all ADHD, some have it, some don't. This is why ADHD looks so different with so many people. My daughter has slow processing speed. So if I give her two options, she's standing there going, nope, I'm not making a decision. So instead, I'll take out an outfit and then I'll say, would you like to wear this outfit? It sounds like I'm giving her a choice, but I'm not. Which has helped her. Now she's 4, turning 5. We're just starting pre-primary, so it's not even big kid school yet. But those decisions take up time in the morning, so to help with the timing, this is one of the things we're doing. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. Those strategies, and it's really, I was mentioning in our pre-chat, but I really, one of the things that I was struck by in, finding you online is, and checking out some of your material, and how, you have a lot of engagement when you do your Facebook Lives and videos and stuff. And I was considering, what,
it's fun.
Yeah, well, and you engage with the people watching, and that's really cool too. But I was considering why, because some people share stuff and they get very little engagement. And I think it's because what I notice you offer, in addition to, all the other things, is a self-awareness. Like you are sharing your awareness. Even in those strategies, you're sharing, an awareness that, hey, my daughter has a challenge. She will not make a decision if I give her two options. And so it's like, we can sort of bang our head against the wall, continuing to do things that don't work, or we can step back and say, okay, this doesn't work. Even with the scheduling thing, how many of us, I spent years forgetting things. And now I'll stop everything, pick up my phone, put a little thing in there, and set a reminder, because it's just like, being aware of what is working and what's not is such a part of your message that I appreciate.
It's using ADHD not as an excuse, but an explanation. It's really big on that, because lots of people just use an excuse. No, I can't remember. No, I'm not going to do anything. I want to do stuff in life, and so that means I have to be responsible, even if it's not graceful.
Yeah. So tell us a little, because I think it's interesting. What aside?
How did I get my engagement?
No. But aside from no, I think I figured that one out, because I think people really relate to your stuff. I think it's very relatable and it's good.
No one's ever asked that question, by the way, but I also think I came up with a different answer.
Oh, really? Well, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Share it with us.
I share my own struggles.
Uh-huh.
I'm not just telling you this is the way you need to do it. I'm letting them see the vulnerable side of me. And that's when I saw the shift in my engagement, is when people saw me as a real person, not just this person in making the videos. I am a real person that struggles, who's terrible at folding laundry, and is willing to talk about that in my live videos.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
and I think that, I'm with you. And I think that's such a need, people have to have others who are going through similar situations who they can interact with and relate to. And that's one of the really awesome things about the connected world we live in, where you can be anywhere in the world and connect with a whole group of people like you have.
We're on different coasts.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
yeah. And
I think it's really different with this generation, because people of my generation, we were not diagnosed young. I'm an anomaly in the ADHD world to have been diagnosed at 9. I didn't meet another female till 29. But watch this next generation have this connection with other people around the world and not feel so alone, and see how they can blossom because of the connections that our generation is doing. It's so exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I joke with people, but it's not even a joke that, Facebook is going to save the world, and people are like, what are you talking about? But it's really what you're talking about. And it's not just Facebook. It could be any platform. But the fact that we can connect, because we may grow up or live in an isolated, community of some sort where nobody is like us. And we could go through life thinking there's something wrong with us as a result. And
I did.
Yeah. And then,
but I was adopted into a neurotypical family, so I was the weird one.
Well, sure, but we're all weird in our own ways, right? So, but to be able to, find a group of people who are like, yeah, I understand, and I'm going through the same thing, and here's what I'm doing that's working, and here's what I'm doing that's not working. What do you got? And I think that's so valuable. What I was actually going to ask is, what do you, aside from being on the ADHD Mama Facebook and raising your kids, what other things are you up to?
What do I do?
Yeah, what are you up to?
Well, I ran a company for 2 years called Nova First Aid. I'm a first aid instructor.
Uh-huh.
I've been working with the Red Cross for 17 years. Wow. And when that came to an end, I didn't know what to do with myself, so I started making videos online. And that's really, I still teach first aid, and that's what I do as, I guess, my career. Mm-hmm. And then ADHD Mom has just been a fun side project for me.
And have you looked at, because I'm sure with the amount of people that follow your page and engage with you, that people want sort of more of that from you. I mean, do you have anything like that on the horizon? Or working with people or any individuals, or doing anything else with that? Not that
a couple things.
Yeah.
I've been talking to Dr. Sharon Celine, who wrote the What Your ADHD Child Wishes You Knew. I reviewed her book. I'd never met her before, and now we're collaborating on a little project coming up. I'm going to be doing a ADHD panel later on this month in Nova Scotia. And I don't actually know where I'm taking this yet, but it's going in a direction, and we're just going to, see where it goes.
Yeah, that's always the best way to do it, right? As long as you're open to hearing the next opportunity.
Absolutely.
Totally. Well, why don't you tell us, I mean, obviously we've mentioned the ADHD Mama, but tell us what people who want to hear more from you, want to catch up on, learning about you folding laundry and the different sagas with your kids and all that good stuff. Where do they find you? How do they do that?
So my main platform is on Facebook. That's where I have my main group of followers. And so it's the ADHD Mama at Facebook. But I also have videos on YouTube. It's the same videos. So
gotcha.
Watch the YouTube ones. It's on the Facebook. So just get more engagement on Facebook. I'm actually not on any other social medias. I don't have a website. I'm just keeping it nice and small. And I'm finding I'm having good connection with this so far. So
yeah. Well, that's cool. So anybody who's watching who wants to find a place where they can interact with other people and, certainly, interact with and hear from Laura and, go there and check it out because you will see what I mean with how much engagement she gets. And what that shows, aside from that, she's filling a need that people have and giving good content is also that the people that there's a community aspect to it. And that's something that, though we are all so connected with the digital world, we're also, in a lot of ways, we're also isolated by it. So to be able to have a place where you can have that community interactivity is so valuable. So
it's been fun watching the friendships form on the site, on the Facebook group. So that's kind of nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, thanks so much for taking some time with us today, sharing some of your insight and wisdom. And I look forward to keeping track of what you're up to going forward and seeing where it takes you. Because I think that to me, it seems like that as you keep following along this, we'll see more from you, hear more from you, and not that there's anything wrong with the Facebook, but beyond, it's growth beyond.
Yeah,
that,
beyond this.
Yeah. To the next
I'm
phase.
cool with growth.
Yeah.
Well, I've only been doing this for 7 months, so.
Wow. Really? Wow. Yeah. Yeah. So it's definitely growing fast.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah. You're very welcome. Take care.